What's up, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 4, Mango After Hours. Today's guest, it is Tyler Villegas, a.k.a. Mango Jr., my son. It only makes sense to bring the people in early in the podcast days, years, whatever you want to call it, to introduce people that are going to become repeat offenders, as I call them, or repeat guests, or they have an integral part in the organization. My son Tyler is now the general manager of the MangoTech store. He's also the VIP contact for tech support for all my friends and all the whales for Trollmaster, Think LED. And he is the one that also does all the what's the videos? What's the word that I'm looking for? The videos. What's the videos?
Reels? No.
Josh, what's the videos?
Tutorials.
The
yeah,
video tutorials. Sorry, couldn't spit it out. It happens sometimes. He is the one that does the video tutorials. I can't do them all, so I am the director for the video tutorials. I'm the one that kind of figures out, what product we're going to do. I kind of, not that we don't write a formal script, because nothing here is scripted, as you can tell. We just run from the hip. Whatever comes out, minor editing. But yeah, he is the one that does the tutorials on video with Josh. And he does a good job at it. He's very well versed with all the controllers. And, he's been with me at the facility since we moved to California. And he's never been in a grow room in his life. I try to shade him. I used to drug test this kid and my other son. I used to drug test them both, because I didn't want him to follow my footsteps. Back in the days, we were drug dealers. I was a state licensed general contractor, build high-end homes for a living. During the day and at night, we were trappers. I would build high-end grow rooms for my friends, and there was a lot of close calls, and I did not want this for my son. I vowed not to let my son do this, so I was very strict on both of my kids, super strict, and I wouldn't let them get away with shit.
Not on both of his kids, just me.
I
actually got drug tested more times than my brother, and which I thought was unfair. But he's the holy child, lawyer, and I was kind of the troublemaker. So he saw me and him, and felt like I'm gonna drug test Tyler more because he's more prone to fucking.
Well, like they say, the mango don't fall far from the tree when it grows on level ground, and we're on pretty level ground. So, this is the middle kid. And he definitely has. They're both are like me in different ways, but this definitely he definitely didn't take the school route. My other son took the school route. He's an attorney in Florida, and he wanted to be the entrepreneur. Didn't want to go to college and want to follow somewhat dad's footsteps.
Yeah, definitely did not like college. You didn't go to college either.
No, I didn't. I
just trade school.
I didn't have. Well, I went to night school.
Oh, night school.
I went to the School of Hard Knocks and graduated from Trial and Error University. That's where I went.
Yeah, actually, high school was okay. Did fine, and then college, freshman year, 2019, and then 2020. That's when I believe COVID hit, right? And then everything switched to online. And flashback to 2019. We opened up MangoTech Clothing, which was kind of the cannabis company for Miami Mango Cannabis. And, you brought me onto that, and we did that, and, did well. And I necessarily didn't want to go back to college after, even COVID had hit because everything was online. And I was like, honestly, I hate doing this. And, did that. I think I did the clothing company for, 2 years. I think I was serving at, a high-end restaurant. And then, he brought up the idea. He's like, son, I'm going to move to California. You can either stay here, run the clothing company, and figure out your life, or you can take a leap of faith and, still run the clothing company and, move out to California and kind of pursue, the cannabis industry. And I don't really know what I was doing, but it sounded like a leap of faith and it sounded like a direction. It sounded like an opportunity that I couldn't necessarily pass up,
So, how was your upbringing?
Very strict, super fucking strict, actually, which is good and bad. Bad because I had to deal with his ass. Good because it kept me in line. It was like
structure.
Structure. Doing dishes, taking out the trash, doing chores. If you didn't get chores, fucking get your phone taken away for a week. Get a D on a test. I didn't see that phone for a week. I've probably been grounded by you probably, I want to say 2 years of my life in total span. And like thinking about it, like I've probably been grounded by you for like 2 exact whole years.
Well, you should have listened. What I tell you,
Yeah.
should have listened. There was a time that he did something, and then I burned his skateboard.
We can say it. We can say it. I was in 6th grade. I'll say it. I was in 6th grade. Fucking in middle school, and thought I was cool, whatever. And I teabagged some kid on the bus, and I got suspended from the bus. I got in-school suspension from school, and then they contacted my dad, and my dad burned everything I loved. My skateboard, that I loved skateboarding back then. I think like all my Nike socks, like all my high
Everything that had to do with
white
skating.
Nike socks, like you burned
Put
everything.
it on the front driveway. I lit it up with gas, and I burnt it down. And it wasn't just a teabag thing. It was just he was bullying a kid, and I just didn't like that. I told him it's you're more of a man and way cooler when you stand up for the kid that is getting bullied than to jump on the bandwagon with a bunch of other losers and pick on a kid. I had him go to the kid's house and apologize to the kid, to the family, and then I took him home, took his ass home, and then I burned all his shit. He never did it again, and actually I think it changed his attitude from that point on. I think he learned. I think that was a turning point in this young man's life, to where I was strict, I acted swiftly, hard penalty, but I also sat down and explained to him that it's easier to jump in a bandwagon with all these people and then pick on somebody. But when you stand up for that person, it makes you more of a man in a way to stand up for somebody that can't stand up for themselves. And he took that, and I think from that point on, I think I changed. I saw a change on his life. And then the reason why I'm getting into this is maybe it'll help somebody out there, or parenting or whatever it is. But I'm also giving you guys some kind of a background of the relationship that I had with my kids. Like I said, I was a general contractor by trade, built high-end homes in Florida by day, and at nighttime I had a double life. I built clandestine grows, and I built them well, and I got a name for myself, and I would build grows for people, and I had the rights to every grow, first rights refusal to every product that got produced in all those grows, and I maintained them all. They didn't have to call anybody else. I did everything. So I didn't want them to follow in that footsteps, so I was very strict with both of the kids. I could see this one kind of, straying away. The other one's a straight A student. He's an attorney. He was good, but I had to do what I did to this one to the other one too. But yeah, he probably got tested a little bit more. So now that we got that out of the way, it was I've been flying to California since about 2010. Had traps here, was working here, and I was flying around the country and kind of parenting from far away. They're pretty good kids overall. And when it came time I was going to move to California full time because I was building a facility here, and the facility was built. I said, you know what? Now I can't do this flying back and forth. There were some years I was flying 100,000 miles back and forth from Florida. I think my record was 98,000 miles in a year. Most years were about 80,000 miles going back and forth. And that's not the way to raise a family. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to take the whole family and bring them to California. And his first job was to install Model H's in the mom room. Never been in a grow room in his life.
Well, flashback. Before we moved, I took a trip out there.
Correct.
For I want to say a week or 10 days. And that's when I installed.
That's when
That's when I installed. I think it was like 6 months before actually moving out there. I think I took a trip with you, to Sacramento.
Yes, we stayed
in the Crack Shack.
Crack Shack, yeah. And the reason why I call it Crack Shack because I was living in the hood. I lived in the hood. I was by myself here in California. I did nothing lavish. I just wanted the house, the closest house to the facility because I was the one that opened the facility.
It was pretty fucking nasty.
6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I would open the facility, and I was the last one to leave, and I would work 7 days a week. I did not need anything fancy, and it was in the hood, so we called it the Crack Shack.
Yeah, during that time is when I installed all the lights in the mom room.
Yep, you saw all the lights in the mom room. So that was his first experience with a grow facility. Never seen any other grow facility in his life, and And then I said, here's a light. And I showed him how to do a rack. I did a tier with you.
Yeah.
I did one tier with him. This is the way we install drivers first. This is the way that you go about it. Then you install the daisy chains, and then you install the low voltage cable. And then I taught him about cord management, which is very important. We all, whether it's a trap or a multi-million-dollar rec facility, you got to be clean, you got to be organized. And I taught him the proper way of, running cables and installing the lights. And he did a great job. He installed pretty much all the lights in the mom room on the mom racks by himself, and that was his first experience with TrillMaster and Thinker LED lights. Now, fast forward, he is the manager of the MangoTech store, and he is the tech support guy for all my VIP clients and friends. They blow up his phone now, thank God, because now that alleviates me, and now he sees what I go through. How is it? How is it being the manager of the MangoTech store now?
It's cool. It's cool. I like it. I like being in charge. I think I honestly get that from you. I've always been kind of like a bossy type, even since I was younger. Even like, I guess it even relates back to sports. I was like quarterback when I was playing football.
Yep.
Control the team. I like being in control. So I enjoy it. I like overseeing people, make sure everything's going okay. And, I do enjoy being, in charge of the operation. If something happens, it's on me, and, I can make sure, things are going smooth. I also, because you're my dad, I kind of know what you want and what you expect too, which, someone, if, a different person in that management position might not know the right call at a certain time because they don't know how you would react to it or, if you'd like it or not. So it's kind of dope because I kind of have that feel for it. So I'll know, Jesus will say something and be like, nah, my dad's not going to want to do that.
So to give you guys a little backstory, he just didn't become the manager of the store just because he's my son. So when we moved out here, like I said, he came here a little bit before. And when he came out here, he didn't know anything about cannabis. So he's not going to be the director of cultivation. He doesn't know how to grow cannabis. And he doesn't know anything about cannabis industry. He's not going to be the director of operations. I got two badass dudes that have those positions covered. And they do a damn good job of it, that there's no way, that a young man at this age could be able to supersede those guys. So that's not, he can't go that way. So what I did is I handed him a camera. What are they called? DSLR? DSLR cameras?
Nikon D7000, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because he wasn't going to be cut to
Just a camera.
he wasn't going to be cut to be able to go in there and defoliate all day long. He wasn't going to do that. I just know, I know his character, or not his character, but his type. So I said, I got a perfect job for you. He's very techie. He's good. He can grab something in either YouTube, Google, whatever. He'll figure it out. So here's his camera. You're going to be the IT guy. Now, mind, but he came back. He was installing, he was helping installing controllers, other lights.
Yeah, you got to rewind back to when we moved out here. When we moved out here,
Okay.
we really started from ground up. It started
we were still building. We were still building.
It started. I remember I was fucking painting.
Okay.
I was like, I never painted in my life.
Right, so go back a little bit.
Besides, like in like elementary school, painting
so
like Nemo.
we were in the end stages of building the facility. So he did get to wire a lot of controllers, a lot of lights, a lot of the communication cables. So he did get some knowledge on how to connect all the equipment, which is key, in the facility. I always tell somebody that if you really want to be good at operating a grow, you should build it because you understand the grow, why things were done, and where they're at. And he was part of that end of that part, integral part of installing the equipment, wiring the equipment. And he was pretty good. So then once kind of that's done, he wasn't going to be upper management. He wasn't going to be in the rooms, with the cultivators, let's say, running trellis. Trust me, he did some of it, because he had to. He goes, had to put him in there, says, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that. But I just knew that he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to cut it for that. But I also knew that he had more skill than to put him there. So I made him do that kind of stuff just so he could learn work ethic and then see why you don't want to, why you want to progress in life, because you don't want to be stuck, at that level in a way. So then I handed him the camera. I said, you know what, I need a camera guy, and I need somebody to shoot videos, do pictures of the product, for the clothing line, for the bud, stuff like that, do videos. And damn, he got actually pretty damn good at it. He was doing the stack shots. I gave him some connections, and he started doing a damn good job at it.
Yeah, shout out What's Percolating on
Yeah.
Instagram, and for helping me set up for the stack shots and the 360s. And also shout out Case God. Those are two guys that kind of really helped me in my photographer era, especially with you. Any questions, any editing questions. I was editing on CapCut for a while, then switched to Adobe, and learned how to do stack shots, for like a macro shot for a plant. Started making reels with you, memes, fucking.
At the same time that he was doing that, when we had issues with controllers, since he is the one that was in the attic and also wired a lot of the controllers, he was familiar with how they operated. So people used to gravitate to him and say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Even when Josh, the director of cultivation, first came to the facility, Josh had nothing to do with building it. So, and Josh, since day one, always says, I don't know anything about automation. He didn't know anything about TrollMaster. So he relied heavily on Tyler. They kind of got a quick, kind of a cool bond, because, Tyler was his go-to to say, hey, Tyler, how do I do this? How do I do that? Which is somebody kind of assisting you that kind of knows the ropes a little bit because they've been there. And so they got a little bond, and they have a good relationship to this day. So he was, that made him feel good, and he was able to take some of the load off me, because I had a million other things to do. So he was able to get those guys operating and going, and then everybody would come to him for questions. So he learned the controllers really, really, really good, and the lighting, and the way that they were installed properly and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think especially after, I think I worked at the facility for a year and a half, I think, fully operating. And during that year and a half, also like wiring all these, controllers and lights. You understand how it's wired, or having to rewire it, or like having to take down a lifter, put a new one, or, having to switch a ballast, all these things. Over time, you just learn it, I think, what was your phrase? The one thing money can't buy? Experience?
Experience, baby. Money can't buy experience.
And that experience helped me a lot, too. And, I was also working with Jason, the owner of TrollMaster, to do a bunch of R&D testing with new products coming out, or just like troubleshooting different products. And I kind of learned the in and outs of TrollMaster, and I've kind of experienced almost every problem, and essentially came up with a solution, or figured out a solution. So working with Josh was super dope too. He's very knowledgeable on growing, and just going with him on a day-to-day basis about scheduling, or how to adjust the settings, what solenoid is what, on this TrollMaster box, kind of just dialing in everything with him, and, trying to, like, make him see, or, like make him familiar with what I know, behind the scenes, because he wasn't there to see, the build-out.
Yeah, so I often talk and say that we have different group chats on WhatsApp app, on
WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp.
He says, "What's up?" And
What's up,
when for a screenshot, he says, "Screen shoot," and pisses me off.
So what? You get what I'm saying?
A potato.
So anyway, yeah,
Potato,
tomato. Yeah. So anyway, WhatsApp and DMs on Instagram, and also emails. There's different threads with different high-level TrollMaster engineers and stuff like that, and we're all discussing. And he's the one. He's in those chats with also. Josh, the director of cultivation, the owner of TrollMaster, head engineers, junior engineers, and we're all discussing, issues and possible solutions and stuff like that. So he's definitely come a long way. I'm very proud of my son. I'm very tough on him, because I hold him to a higher standard, because he is my son. And a lot of people, say, well, the only reason why he's on that position is because he's the owner's son. And that might be true to a point. But let me tell you what. The fucker kid worked for it, and I hold him to a higher standard. I scream a lot, and I demand a lot from him, because I don't want people to abuse that and say that he's in that position just because he's the owner's son. He runs his store. He's the store manager with Jesus. What's up, guys? I'd like to take this time to thank our current sponsors. First and foremost, I would like to thank TrillMaster. TrillMaster is the king of automation. Nothing else like it in the world. It really is the future of intelligent farming. Also would like to thank Early D, the king of spectrum tuning. High tech, high yields. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Mango Juice. If you ain't juicing, you're losing. They both do a hell of a job. And how that came about is I hired two managers that I thought they were going to be a dream team at the beginning, and they did not get along. They were like oil and water. They just did not mix. And one of them was street smart. The other guy seemed like he had a great resume. Now I tell you what, I can tell now when somebody gives me a Chat GPT resume. I can break that down now. I can look at that thing and go, that's Chat GPT is fugazi, because I'd rather somebody give me a resume that they write themselves. I think Chat GPT now has got a now a thing that's don't make it
like
so
a sensor check.
Don't make it so professional or something like that.
Yeah.
Tone it down a little bit, because this resume was like, oh my God, this is like the holy grail, dude, that I need to run the store. And let me tell you, that guy turned out to be the worst guy to run the store. He even sued me when I fired him. And if I told you what he sued me for, you'd laugh. He said that I yelled at him so much that he had erectile problems.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was a complete joke.
$195,000 lawsuit.
It was a complete joke.
For workers' comp, and another one he got settled for peanuts. Just paid him to go away, because it was, you know what, you shouldn't use your work computer for personal shit. Because, here we go, attorneys, here's his computer.
A lot of personal shit on his work computer.
A lot of personal shit. The problem of the erectile dysfunction was way before he ever got here.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? What do? They start the fights and I finish them. But anyway, see, you would have never sued me. I would have never said that shit on live TV. Now everybody knows your problem. Big bags of bitch, motherfucker. You can keep that shit on there too.
God.
Fuck that guy. Yeah, I yelled at him so much his thing wouldn't work.
Get up.
How'd that work out for you? Anyway, so you know what? The other manager was cool. I like him. I'm still friends with him. Unfortunately, just those two guys were like oil and water. It didn't work. So, I had to make decisions at that time. And Jason, the owner of TrillMasters, he's my partner. And he said, you know what? Your son can do this. And obviously, maybe I'm clouded because I'm his father. And I says, you know what? No, he can't. Yes, he can. And I go, no, he's too green. I go, so nobody's perfect. Look what you just got rid of. And they're grown-ass men. So I said, okay, you got a fucking point. You got a fucking point.
You got a point.
Let's give it a go. So he became the manager of the store. And I got to tell you, since I got rid of the other two guys, and these other two guys, and I don't say that meanly. I said I got rid of one guy. The other guy, just things happened. I do like the other guy that was working for me. He's cool. We're still cool, and I still like that guy. But anyway, so my son took over the store, and like I say, he takes care of all the VIPs, tech support. He makes good money here. He does side hustles where he'll go and install TrillMaster for people around the area, and they pay him good money to install. So he's definitely developed himself into a nice young man and into a nice position. I'm proud of you, kid.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Learned it from you.
Appreciate it.
No one has the harder work ethic than this guy, though. I'll be honest with you. Fucking sometimes it makes me feel bad, but that's what it is.
I learned the work ethic from my dad, and then I say that guy had the best work ethic, hardest work ethic, and I complain sometimes. My dad didn't complain. He would just, he would say, you know what, son, complain when there's no work, that you can't put food on the table, and I still miss the old man. He was an agricultural engineer, and I wish he would have been alive to see kind of what I have achieved, but it is what it is. I'll see him in another world. So tell us a little bit of about your job. What's your day to day? If you like it.
So probably wake up around like 7:30. Depends if I'm going to the gym in the morning, whatever. Go to the gym, come here. Store opens at 9 a.m. We close at 5:30. My assistant manager gets here at 7. So I get here at 9, kind of go through the store, go through the offices, say what's up to everyone. Go back into my office, check some emails, from the previous day. Usually got to deal with accounting because we don't have a fucking accountant here. But it's okay. I'll do it.
It's okay. The accountant's not here. But,
Accounting is probably the worst part to deal with. But it is what it is. It's part of the job.
Because she's Jenny's a pit bull.
Yeah, Jenny's a beast.
Jenny's a pit bull. She's a pit. She wants to know where every dollar goes to. Same thing with the facility. We got to track every dollar. Everything's accounted for. Everything needs an invoice. Everything needs a receipt. And like she catches me every once in a while, and I pay for a haircut with the wrong card. It's like, hey, that supercuts is why are we paying for supercuts?
Yeah. So keep in mind, this guy went to fucking Supercuts, okay?
Hey,
keep that for the record. That my dad gets a haircut at Supercuts. I will always flame him for that.
When you're so busy, and you just there's a Supercuts. I got long hair. I got a podcast. You know what? Let's go. You know what the difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is?
The difference between my hair and your hair.
No, the difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is 2 weeks. It grows back. It's not the end of the world. Plus, you got a cap on. You know what I mean? This cap looks good. The Louis look good. I look good. What can I tell you?
Yeah, the day-to-day here, it kind of changes. It kind of depends on what's going on, Could be in the office all day doing emails or, doing meetings or, even answering some calls for tech support. Or it could be, running errands or running around or going to the facility, and doing stuff for you or doing stuff for the store. So it kind of varies. Kind of say, a little bit like all over the place. I'm kind of not always sanctioned here, but, my day-to-day changes based off, what, especially you have me doing as well.
Yeah, we also have, we also do events here. We do events here every so often, whether a night event, a parking lot event, and he is part of that of that crew that gets to put that together. When we had the grand opening, him and Jesus, we would get together, and we did that in about 2 months. So I think we had a meeting twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And we've never had an event. We never had a grand opening. I've never owned a store. So everything's kind of, just shooting from the hip, trying to figure it out. And him and Jesus spearhead that thing, make sure that all the people know what they're doing, and we're scheduling and make sure that the event or the podcast or everything gets scheduled. It goes through these two guys.
I think we crushed the event for the amount of time that.
Yeah, we did that in 2 months.
2 months.
And
that was a
unfortunately
hectic
it was
fucking 2
hot.
months. Yeah, it was hot as hell.
It was super hot, and the attendance was great, but it just couldn't hang out because it was. I don't know. That asphalt must have been 110 degrees. Yeah. So thank God that
I was inside all day in the store. So.
Yeah. So thank God that we had those portable AC units. But I think it's about that time for us to start getting ready for.
Yeah, by thinking
the next
May,
event.
May we have what, 6 months, 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and May 1st we start doing Mango Fest number 2.
Yeah, it should be good.
It's like 1-day event though.
But once again, I just wanted to remind everybody the reason why I brought my son on here is because you will probably see him in a lot of the tutorials of all the equipment, because he is one of the guys that assists Josh and I fix any glitches of any new equipment that comes from TrollMaster, whether it's equipment, software, inputs. He is involved in part of this, and he does take care of the VIPs. So I just figured that it was just right to bring him on here and introduce him to the world as to what his role is in the organization. And he's an integral part of MangoTech store, Miami Mango Cannabis, and he assists TrollMaster and Think Grow with the products that we pitch, co-develop, and sell to the world. So if you guys come into the store, if you see my son, come up to him, say hello to him, and get his information, because I'm sure he'll be glad to assist you with your controllers if you have any issues. We're thinking of working on a program that if you live or your facility is within a 2 to 3 hour radius of Sacramento, if you want to get trained on TrollMaster, we got to figure out some kind of a fee that he will be the one that goes to your facility and gets whoever you want, 10 people or so, and he can teach you guys how to get the most out of the controller, whether it's a HydroX Pro Plus, AquaX Pro Plus. He can teach you at your facility on how to copy paste, irrigation events. He is the one that was the one that, we had a list of stuff that we give to TrollMaster to do firmware updates, and sometimes, my friends, whether it's Craft Farmer or Lance or somebody else, they give me ideas. People will send me ideas and we'll write them down and then we present them to the engineers. He's part of that crew that brings it to the engineers and say, hey, we need to develop this because it's a pain in the ass to do it this way. So there's got to be a faster way. So if anybody can help you out with your controllers, this is the guy. He knows the controllers actually better than I do now because I'm just too busy running a business. By the looks of my surroundings, you think that you've landed in some kind of spaceship. No, you've actually landed on a sponsored ad. A sponsored ad by Thinker LED. Thinker LED is the leader in cultivation technology for lighting, whether it's a greenhouse light, indoor light, inner canopy light, or under canopy light. Thinker LED is the leader in spectrum control and grouping of lights. All the best growers use Thinker LED. What are you going to use? And
I think, funny you say that, one of the biggest change. So back in the facility, we're always, obviously, the goal of MangoTech and My Mango Cannabis is, not only, grow great cannabis and, sell some of the best equipment in the game, but also, improve our equipment as much as we can. During that year and a half, I remember, Jason, owner of TrollMaster, would say, any tweaks or any adjustments, within the controller system, let us know. We'll talk to engineers. I remember the one thing was the copy and paste feature. Setting those schedules for that fucking facility while crop steering took me to do one entire facility. Took me 4 hours to set each schedule because you have a solenoid on each fucking row, times 6 rooms, times 2 tiers, times dump valves, times just so much shit. And I remember it took me 4 hours to change the schedule, only for Josh, director of cultivation, the next day to be like, well, I need you to,
tweak it again, change it again.
Where are you fucking
change it again? So that was a huge issue because every, crop steering, you have to adjust this stuff all the time, as the plant's growing.
And it's a new facility too, so, we're testing out,
trying to
PSI pressure, figuring out how many rows you can feed at one time, in the facility, because if you feed too many rows at one time, then your pressure drops, so you're not pushing out, as much nutrients.
Direct facility issues. You can't. There's only so much flow that you have through these pipes, and so much pressure, so much volume going through these pipes and drippers. Depending on their 0.3s, 0.5, 1, 3s, whatever they are, ours are 0.3s or 0.5s, but there's only so many rows you can water at a certain time, and so that was a challenge. But so once the copy and paste feature came about, it made everything just so much easier. So thank God TrollMaster has firmware updates for everything. Even the lights have firmware updates, which you would never know that you could firmware update a light. Yes, you can. Even the Model H, the original light, you can have a firmware update. And how can they have a firmware update? Because Thinker LED is probably one of the only companies out there, because I don't know any other company, that they manufacture their own drivers. They don't buy Inventronics or anything off the fucking shelf like all these other companies, and they're married to that. No. Thinker LED makes their own drivers inside the lights. And that's why they've been able to have spectrum tuning since day one, because they didn't rely on other companies to make the drivers, and 32 engineers and staff. That's what gets you. And we're not done yet. I mean, there's a bunch of other projects that we've had over the years. Sometimes projects take 6 months. Sometimes projects takes years. There's some projects that we started, 3-4 years ago, and they're not done. And they might not even be halfway done, but I'll tell you, we're always coming up with new stuff. And I'm pretty proud to say that my son gets to assist me in in developing those products. I'm his father, and I'm a proud dad now because I see this young man come into his own. And I got another son that's in Florida.
He's the holy grail.
No,
He's the perfect
no,
lawyer,
you guys
straight
are
A
different.
student, fucking doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't party, at home before curfew.
He doesn't give me any problems. What can I say? And I like this one. but I'm pretty proud of him. I'm proud of them both. Hey, you know what? He keeps me on my toes too. Anyway, he's snowboards with me. We go out there, so we have a lot of fun. But I'm very proud to say that he assists me with my business. That's a parent's dream, is to see their son, to see their offspring. Their offspring kind of.
At least I can say I don't think I'll be your worst worry.
That's what she's. I got 3 kids.
The newest one is his
The
worst
thing is,
one.
the little one's a girl,
For sure.
and she's a firecracker. There's going to be a fork in the road, and I just hope that there's 4-wheel drive and whatever she's driving, she can come back. Because she could go either way. But like I said, that book's still to be written. You know what? She might be a CEO of some badass company,
I hope so.
or a badass attorney. But she definitely got ball of energy. She reminds me of me when I was young. My mom said I didn't stop, and I don't stop today. But it is what it is. We'll see. We'll see how that book develops in the future. So where do you see yourself going in this industry? What's
It's a good question. Honestly, I don't really know. I'm kind of just hoping, or just looking for, MangoTech to take off at a kind of an international level. I'm hoping, we can open up another store somewhere else. Gain traction.
Another brick and mortar, you mean? Because we're already online.
Well, yeah, another brick and mortar, just like expansion. I obviously love all the products we work with, Trollmaster, Think Grow. I love what we do here at the store. I think it would be sick, if we expanded, not only hydro store, but even like a cannabis facility, in Florida. That's the end goal,
He wants a store in Florida so bad so he can go work over there. But, this is the Mecca, we take sacrifices. We're in California, which is the Mecca of cannabis, and we're here. But, I definitely, I could definitely see, like I said, we're trying to globally expand in the Miami Mango Cannabis and the MangoTech store globally as a brick and mortar. And I could definitely see you traveling to those other parts of the world to get those stores going and get people over there working and like simulate what you do here.
Yeah, or even just like retrofitting people's grows with all Trollmaster Think Grow equipment. I think that would be something also dope to do in the future. Being able to go to a large facility and giving them a quote on everything that they need to run their rooms, all the bells and whistles, whether, irrigation, lighting, environment, whatever it is, I think.
I mean, you're getting to the point now that like a facility there was a large MSO in Florida that called you, we remember when we first sat down with the Zoom call and we had a conversation with them. And they want to know what's your relationship to Trollmaster and Think Grow, because they got put onto us, and we talked to them, and then you talked to their I forget what the guy's position was. VP, and then they paid for your flight to go to Florida, and I remember you came back and you go, wow, these rooms are massive, and I go, well, how big were they? And they go, well, their rooms, each room was 800 plus lights.
Yeah, they have 3 flowering rooms with like 880 lights each. And then I think they had like 800 total mom and veg lights. Like fucking shit ton of dry rooms and like 3 clone rooms. It was absurd.
It was huge. Okay,
Massive.
So you're in a good position. People are starting to fly you out of places just so you can go talk to them about
cool.
Trollmaster equipment.
I enjoy it.
That's gonna feel good.
I enjoy it. I like traveling too, and especially when you're going back to Florida, when you're going back to home base. You take a little bit for work, and you take a little bit for leisure. And, I go back and I see the homies. And
we call that a workcation.
A workcation, yeah.
Workation. By the way, you know where I'm going tomorrow? I'm going to Cannabis tomorrow for a little workcation.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that one.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted to go.
We're gonna try really hard. We're gonna work hard this year. I work hard every year, but we're gonna work hard this year again. and see if we can possibly bring this podcast over to Spain next year. And we can get to fly you and Josh, the videographers, and maybe we'll do a podcast in Spain. Who would you like to see in Spain on the Mango After Hours podcast? That's the
that'd
question.
be interesting.
I want to hear you guys tell me, let's go Europe. Who's going to come up? Who's going to come up on the Mango After Hours podcast? Where can we do it? If you see me in Spain, come talk to me. Let's go. I think that's about it for this segment. You got to know my son. Come to the store, talk to him, hit him up on the DM. What's your at now on Instagram now?
Fuck. Mine got deleted thanks
Again?
to you.
Again?
Nah,
Okay.
I've
Anybody
been
that's
slacking on the new one, but I had a page. It was Miami.Mango Jr. I built up a good following on it. Posted shit since being in there day one, moving out here. And then
unfortunately, any
got
affiliation
deleted.
with this guy gets you deleted. There's a big company out there that doesn't like me, and they pay banners to delete me or anybody that's affiliated with me. That's why I don't really tag anybody anymore, because they suffer because of me. But that's okay.
But my Instagram handle now is Miami.Mango.Jr. So that's the IG handle.
So if you guys want to follow him and ask him some Master questions, leave me alone. Ask him. He's taking over.
Yeah, hit me up. No, seriously, if you have any questions, or concerns, hit me up. I'm pretty much always on my phone or always able, to answer unless I'm busy. But I always try to get back to everyone.
And truthfully, the controllers are advanced now, and all the features are super advanced. And we're dropping new shit all the time that they're the ones that really stay up in touch with all that stuff. They know the controllers a little bit more than I do now, for sure. Like I said, I'm busy doing a million other things. So if you ask me and I don't know, I'm going to call him or a couple other people to figure out the answer. So might as well just bypass this bridge and just go straight over there and ask him the questions. He'll be able to take care of you.
I've got one for you. Ready?
What's up?
What's the most story time, real quick? Because I want to tell a story
Okay.
about childhood, growing up with you.
Okay.
What's your most, I guess, memorable story that you remember with me from, raising me or,
Memorable story.
What was the craziest situation? I have one.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay, what is it?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
When I got pulled out of school.
Oh, shit.
I was in, what was I, third grade? Third grade by the
DEA.
DEA and police.
You sold me out for pests.
I was like 8 years old, police come in, they're, pull me out of class. They're like, I'm looking for Tyler. The principal's there. I'm like, oh, shit. Go in a large principal conference room. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Police, it's candy time. They have like Smarties and
it was Halloween.
Lollipops. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to sell out my dad for a lollipop. Give it to me. Please, thanks.
That's kind of what it was, but
I didn't know any better.
And he was young. He didn't know any better.
They asked me what I saw at the house, and I was like, well, he's always got like this green stuff, and he's got a lot of cash. I always see him with like money. And yeah, like it smells,
guns,
this and that.
Guns or something like that.
And then so I remember they were giving me candy, and I was basically ratting on my dad, but I didn't know any better. I was young. And then after that happened, he took me and my brother to go to a lawyer, and we sat down with the lawyer, and basically we were coached, I would say, to that if we ever got in the situation again, we had like a paragraph worth of like words that we always had to say. And I remember, before dinner for the next couple months, you would make us recite it, word by word. And if we didn't do it, we'd have to go do it before we could eat. So shit like that growing up
I remember that. Yep.
was part of his strict, parenting.
Go see somebody's in here or something. Tell them not to. So anyway, sorry, we left the door open, and I think somebody came into the store because it is Mango After Hours, and one of the doors open because we're gonna cross breeds. But anyway, yeah, that was when he was 8 years old. His brother was about 9. It was Florida. Florida's hot. It was hot tamales, and the DA was hot on our ass, and they couldn't They couldn't get me. They couldn't get me, and they were just looking for any avenue. So there was a DA officer that was hot on everybody's trail. He'd got pretty much most of my friends, and I had an alias in the street, and they could never pin who this dude was. It was Chavez. That was the street alias. So the people didn't know my name or my last name, and my truck never really went anywhere. So they finally got a hold of who I was, and they went to my kid's school, and they pulled him out of the class, and they questioned him, and I asked him stuff that and people say that's bullshit. That's not allowed. Well, it was allowed because they called DCF, which is Department of Children and Families, and they were allowed to go and question the kids. So, and then they showed up at my house about a month later, but it was just DCF, and then you have to let them in. DCF does not need a warrant to come into your house. They're just there to make sure that the kids are safe. So they came in. It was a pretty young black girl with a dude, with a police officer that was black, and he was jacked. I remember I just come home from the gym, and I was pretty jacked at that time. And they wanted me to, check out the house, and they checked out the house, and then they asked me to submit to a drug test, and I told them I'm not pissing for anybody. I'm not pissing for you. I'm not pissing for you. And they told me why not. I told them because I don't have to. And I don't, I'm not under parole, or I'm not under any supervision, and it's my right. It's my, I'm a United States citizen. I don't have to piss for you for anybody. So we went back and forth, and I told the police officer, because like I said, he was Jack. I go, come on, sir, with all due respect, if somebody calls on you and says this, you're going to really submit to something, because let's say I can go and make a phone call from a payphone, accuse you of something, and then I flex that says, because let's just be honest with you. You're not really, up to par. Were you pissed? And he told me, yeah, and I told him bullshit. So yeah, that was some tough times during that time. There was some troubling times that when they came.
It's the funniest story, most memorable story you got with me, from your perspective.
that was one of the most memorable ones, and then the other one, I mean, that's probably the most memorable ones between you and your brother that definitely stuck with me, because I didn't want to put you guys through all that. I was just trying to support you guys, and then I didn't expect these fuckers to go to your school and do that to you. So
yeah, I would say that one's most memorable, and then also getting the call that you were in jail.
Yeah, when I got raided here in California, I'm sure that sucked. That's another whole story that I'm sure that I put you guys through.
That was rough.
Yeah, I got out of that one. Oh my God, that was a rough. I was 4.5 years that fought that case.
Going to my senior year of high school, stepmom comes out crying. She's like, "Your dad is in jail." I'm like, "We're fucked. We're fucked."
Yep. Yeah, got raided in California, and they wouldn't let us out of jail. 32 days in jail. Bond $2.5 million for everybody. 5 Florida people got arrested. 5 Florida people shut the fuck up. 5 Florida people went to jail. And I said Florida because all of them had some kind of tie to Florida, whether it's ID or not. And then they kept us in California for 4 months. And when I got raided, I've said this before, that was the worst day of my life. Best day of my life. Worst because I got raided. I actually got caught one time. And then best because it redirected my life into another direction, in a way that somehow I ended up where I wanted to be anyway. When I first moved to, or started coming to California in 2010, I wanted to be here. I wanted to own a cultivation space. I wanted to own a dispensary. I never thought I was going to own a hydro store, and be involved with the most well-known controller in the industry. But that bad time in 2017, which was a half year before legalization in California, was some dark times, because I got raided, and I was looking at 3 to 7 years in county jail, not even prison, county fucking jail, and for extraction of cannabis. We had a grow, and we had a butane honey oil lab, and that was a pretty tough charge. The charge read as follows, which is horrible: manufacturing anything other than PCP. So I'm looking at my attorney like, dude, are you fucking shitting me, dude? Like, this reads manufacturing other than PCP. You know what people read this? They're going to look at you and says, this guy's manufacturing meth. I go, we got to change that. He goes, unfortunately, you can't. I go, well, what do you mean you can't? Look how it reads. It reads horrible. And I really didn't give a fuck for me because I'm 49 years old. But I had guys that were young. They were in their 20s that got arrested with me. And then they still got a life ahead of them. So how's that going to read for them when they go for a job application? That was a rough one. But anyway, the good thing is that I had an unbelievable, because this shit don't happen. This shit does not happen to where fucking 5 guys stick together. Oh, shut the fuck up. 4.5 years. I was taking this thing to the box, and after like 3.5 years, within the first month, 1 guy got dropped. 3.5 years, 3 guys got dropped. It was just me and the other guy, or 2 guys got dropped. It was me and the other guy. He got dropped for 4 years, and then I took it all the way to the box. And at the door, they made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. So blessed. I took that out. I took that plea. That was a wobbler felony, and I was able to continue building the cultivation facility, and then I'm here. So truly blessed. Sorry I put you through that, but it is something.
Well, if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't be here. So it's kind of good, kind of bad.
Shit happens. Mm-hmm.
Shit happens, but shit happens sometimes for the better.
Cool. That's it. Call it a day. That's a wrap. And then on that note, late. What's up, guys? I'd like to thank one of our main sponsors, Mango Juice. 3-part nutrient. No additives, won't clog your lines. If you ain't juicing, you're losing.